Democrats win on health care, environment, women's rights, respect for but on those issues, I bet you that are the big ones that they vote on more: crime, immigration, wars, economy, corruption. So that's the takeaway there.
The only thing the Democratic Party stands for today is opposition to Donald Trump.
Yeah.
And I just read Kamala Harris's new book, 107
No,
Days.
you didn't.
I did?
No, you didn't. When they ask who has a better plan, Republicans crushing it on crime, immigration, wars, the economy, even corruption. Democrats win by 2 points on respect for democracy. Now, some of this is just because people are stupid.
Kamala Harris just released her new book claiming to explain why she lost the election. But, as always, nothing is ever her fault. The pages are filled with half-truths, victimhood, and the usual woke word salad. Then comes Bill Maher, the anti-woke swordsman, cutting through her excuses with sharp sarcasm. He exposes her as a confused, out-of-touch, and performative politician pretending to sound profound. Buckle up, this one stings.
Perpetuating victimhood, especially when it's false, is not a great advertisement for leadership. Kamala Harris's new memoir of the 24 election is called 107 Days, but it should have been called Everyone Sucks But Me. "107 Days is a victim's title because, get it, she only had 107 days to win. Yeah, and $1.5 billion and a built-in army of about 75 million people who'd vote for any human-adjacent life form that wasn't Trump."
Bill Maher started by tearing into Kamala Harris's book 107 Days. He said the title itself is spin, Harris painting herself as a victim who didn't have enough time. But Maher wasn't buying it. He pointed out she had one of the biggest campaign budgets in history, non-stop support from mainstream media, and about 75 million voters who would have backed anything with a D on it. So complaining about only 107 days isn't just misleading, it's laughable. Maher summed it up bluntly. Kamala had every advantage and still managed to flop.
In 107 days, nothing is ever Kamala's fault. Biden lets her down by not stepping down sooner. Pouty face emoji. Gavin Newsom, he was asked for his endorsement, but texted, "Hiking will call back." But then never did. And then he didn't even ask her to prom. America itself lets Kamala down by not being ready for the running mate she really wanted, Pete Buttigieg. So she's stuck with the Home Depot paint salesman. And the rest is her story. Poor Kamala. We made her the star of a rom-com and didn't even give her a gay best friend.
Kamala Harris didn't just write a book. She wrote a political soap opera. She throws Joe Biden under the bus, blaming him for not stepping aside sooner and even hinting at concerns about his mental sharpness. Then she shifts the blame to America, claiming the country wasn't ready for a female president. And to top it off, she complains she didn't get her ideal running mate, Pete Buttigieg. Classic Kamala. When things go wrong, everyone else is at fault.
Writes that on election night, when it was clear she'd lost, an aide peeled the words "Madam President" off the cupcakes before handing them out. Oh, geez, that's like a scene from Bridget Jones Runs for President, for Christ's sake.
Kamala Harris actually blames one of her own aides for tearing the Madam President labels off cupcakes before they were handed out to voters. She claims that moment somehow contributed to her downfall. The truth? The aide removed them because it was already obvious Harris had lost to Donald Trump. Maher couldn't help laughing at the absurdity. While everyone else saw a collapsing campaign, Kamala saw cupcake sabotage. You can't make this up, but she sure did.
Look, ladies, I know this isn't fair, but we're all always running against the worst cliche of who people think we are. Women Democrats can't look oversensitive or preachy or unable to laugh at themselves. They also can't look silly, like Gretchen Whitmer did, trying to hide in the Oval Office. They have to look brave and strong.
The women of the DNC have built an image of being strong and unshakable, the type who never cry, never flinch, and never show weakness. They project an Iron Lady persona, hoping to be seen as tough leaders rather than emotional women. But everyone knows it's a facade. Behind the polished smiles and scripted speeches is a fear of seeming soft in a man's world. In trying so hard to appear invincible, they end up looking artificial, forgetting that real strength comes from authenticity, not suppression.
It wasn't a good look for the woman party that all the guys were speaking out for Jimmy Kimmel when Trump went after him, except on the woman show, where for 5 days the outspoken hosts were suddenly as quiet as a geisha.
If you're wondering why Bill Maher went after the women on The View, here's the short backstory. They mocked him first, dismissing his comments about their sudden silence during the Jimmy Kimmel fiasco. But Maher wasn't going to let it slide. He called out their bravery as fake and performative. When Kimmel was suspended, insiders say The View feared they might be next, and the usually loud panel instantly went quiet, avoiding the topic completely. Then, the moment news broke that Kimmel's show was returning, their confidence magically returned too. Maher summed it up perfectly. Their courage only shows up when it's safe to speak.
Then on the 5th day, they rose and said, "No one silences us. No one had to. You silenced yourself." Whoopi Goldberg continued, "Did you all really think we weren't going to talk about Jimmy Kimmel? No, I thought you would, but then you didn't." 5 days? Talk about needing extra time to get ready. And if you can't take a breath and laugh at that, you're making my point.
Sunny Hostin, Whoopi Goldberg, and Ana Navarro are perfect examples of selective bravery. Fierce when it's convenient, silent when it's risky. They've built their careers on outrage, quick to cancel anyone who doesn't echo their talking points. But when the heat turns toward them, they suddenly become cautious and terrified of the same cancel mob they helped create. They know exactly how vicious it can be, and they'll do anything to avoid becoming its next target. The irony is almost poetic, self-proclaimed warriors of justice trembling at the thought of losing their own platform, yet still unleashing that same mob on others. Their hypocrisy isn't just obvious, it's a daily performance.
Polling came out, and this is really, I'm speaking to the Democrats especially here, because Trump's numbers are down. They're down with Latinos, they're down with blacks, they're down 15 points with whites. And when whites say, "You're not hip anymore," ooh. And yet, in the other poll, on issues, Trump still winning. So this is your big opportunity, Democrats. He's down in the numbers, and you still can't score.
The DNC still can't find its footing, and the reasons are piling up. There's no strong leader to inspire confidence or set a clear direction. The party is stuck in an echo chamber, heavily influenced, if not controlled, by the fringe woke left. Groupthink dominates, and any dissent is treated as betrayal. Instead of facing reality, they cling to empty slogans and wishful thinking. To make matters worse, Kamala Harris has now thrown her own party under the bus. Rather than accepting responsibility for one of the most humiliating defeats in DNC history, she's pointing fingers and rewriting the story. It's chaos masquerading as leadership, and Democrats are paying the price.
When they ask who has a better plan, Republicans crushing it on crime, immigration, wars, the economy, even corruption. Democrats win by 2 points on respect for democracy. Now, some of this is just because people are stupid.
Bill Maher didn't hold back. He shredded Kamala Harris's new book, calling it nothing more than excuses wrapped in identity politics. Maher mocked her 107 Days title, saying she had massive funding, nonstop media support, and millions of guaranteed Democrat voters, yet still managed to flop. Instead of taking responsibility, she blames Biden, the DNC, America, and even her own staff. At one point, she even claimed an aide removing Madam President cupcake labels helped doom her campaign. Pure comedy, Maher also blasted the DNC women for hiding behind a fake Iron Lady image, tough on camera, insecure underneath. He exposed The View hosts too, calling their courage selective. They stayed silent during Jimmy Kimmel's suspension, terrified they'd be next, then suddenly found their voices once it was safe. Maher called it exactly what it was: performative bravery. According to him, the DNC is collapsing under woke groupthink, no strong leadership, and constant infighting, with Harris rewriting history to avoid blame. Meanwhile, Trump may dip in popularity, but he still dominates the issues Americans care about: the economy, border security, and foreign policy. Love him or hate him, voters still trust him more on performance.
Democrats win on health care, environment, women's rights, respect for, but on those issues, I bet you that are the big ones that they vote on more: crime, immigration, wars, economy, corruption. So that's the takeaway there.
The only thing the Democratic Party stands for today is opposition to Donald Trump.
Yeah.
And I just read Kamala Harris's new book, 107
No,
Days.
you didn't.
I did?
No, you didn't.
The Democratic Party has reduced its entire strategy to one thing: fighting Donald Trump. That tactic worked when Biden ran, but repeating the same anti-Trump playbook against Kamala Harris failed badly. Voters were tired of non-stop Trump bashing and wanted real solutions, policies, plans, and leadership. Instead, the DNC offered no clear economic vision, no border strategy, and nothing beyond outrage and slogans. By building their identity around hating Trump, the Democrats now appear hollow, leaderless, and completely out of touch with what voters actually care about.
As you probably know, it's like a diary of what happened, but I was looking for, okay, and what's the plan for the future? There wasn't any, and she's just indicative of the party at large. And by the way, that's one of the reasons she lost.
She's rewriting history in the book, too. She's now against men and women's sports. Like, come on. Like, they tried to dismantle Title IX against women when she was vice president.
Right. I mean, that's just one of many examples.
She could have had 701 days and would have still lost that race.
But you're right. The data says it's costs of living, it's inflation, it's immigration, illegal immigration, all those things. Everything else is at the bottom.
And by the way,
law and order crime.
107 days, way too many for anybody, but including her.
Right.
But the more they got to know her, the less they liked her. I've said this many times on this show. Other countries don't do this. They don't have years to run.
Bill Maher is absolutely right. The more Americans saw Kamala Harris, the less they liked her. The polished endorsements, staged photos, and forced charisma couldn't hide the truth. Behind the political performance was nothing but vague rhetoric and that nervous cackle she used to dodge real questions. She never seemed prepared for the pressure or the policies. Voters wanted authenticity and leadership, but got a walking PR campaign instead. Maher didn't take her down, her own hollowness did.
They call an election, and they have an election in a month.
Yeah, and nor the influence of money. We should do that. Right?
That's going to be hard to get rid of. They've tried. But, no, it's like you don't need 100 days. You need 107 days. You tell people your plan. This is what I am for. This is my thing. You're selling something. You're selling a vacuum cleaner. If I'm selling a vacuum cleaner, I'll tell you why I think it's best. Am I going to tell you every goddamn day for 2 years? Did I tell you about the attachment that gets under the... Yeah, you did. You told me 1,000 times.
In the end, Maher's takedown of Kamala Harris and the Democratic establishment was blunt but accurate. The DNC has no real leader, no clear message, and no connection with everyday Americans. Harris's excuses, The View's performative courage, and the party's non-stop Trump obsession all expose a movement lost in its own echo chamber. Maher said what many already think: Democrats aren't losing because of Trump, they're losing because of themselves. Until they drop the wokeness, take responsibility, and offer real solutions, they'll keep repeating the same failures. Thanks for watching. See you in the next one.